Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all of y'all for taking time to be with us today. You know, I think I've got a pretty unique perspective on trade. I'm from an area in West Georgia that following NAFTA, we saw the exodus of about 35,000 textile jobs. And we learned an awful lot about trade agreements and what's good in them and what's bad in them. And one of the things that we found in all of that is that when you try to use a trade deal to simply save one industry or one sector, you wind up failing in that. The things that have to happen is that you have to take care of your business at home first. You have to have the right tax environment, the right regulatory environment, and the right education environment. And so what we have seen and what we had to do at the local level is what the federal government had failed to do for so long, which is to address the tax environment, to address the regulatory environment, make strategic investments in infrastructure, and be profoundly innovative in education. Now that we're seeing that happen at the federal level, look at what's happening across the country. Our economy is booming. Wages are up significantly, particularly for those in the lower half of the wage scale. We are seeing demand for workers go up, wages are rising, we're seeing more and more opportunities, and this is giving us the momentum that we need to invest in infrastructure to keep this going. I say all of this to say that it is vitally important that we get this trade agreement done. Because of all the conversations that we've had and talking about enforcement and fairness to workers and making sure that the American worker is protected and has the best opportunity, I agree completely with that. But here's the thing, if we don't do this, if we don't get this trade deal done, then it puts the American worker in jeopardy. And I will tell you something, coming from a community that lost all of those jobs, I can tell you how important every single one of those jobs is. And we can continue to push and innovate, and we can continue to do great things. But if we do not have certainty, and our business community cannot make strategic investments for the long haul because of uncertainty in these trade agreements, then it is going to hurt all workers, whether you are in a pro-labor state or whether you're in a right-to-work state. We have to have these agreements in place, and I encourage each of these members to push this to the top so that we will actually have a vote here. So with that, talking about certainty, Ms. Vorek, can you talk about a little bit about how certainty plays a role in your company's future investment and the impact that has on employment opportunities?
Thank you for the opportunity, Congressman, and thank you for the question. And I want to commend you on mentioning the community impacts, because this is truly where communities can either put their head in the sand or they look forward and think about what is our future. Trade is something that facilitates growth in communities. There are winners and losers. But at the end of the day, there's so much more going on around us, like technology and other disruptions. And trade is actually something that will keep a lifeline to the 95% of consumers that are outside the U.S. When we think of certainty, let's think about a farmer who is trying to make a decision around how many acres to plant. And taking a look at, is there a market on the other side? Well, for a company like Cargill, we're looking to say, do we have certainty if we invest in this community, whether it's in the United States or deploy capital across the border, are we going to have certainty that that investment will be afforded the protections that we need? It's integrated. Everything from the farmer having certainty that they will have a buyer like Cargill, to us having certainty that our investment will be protected so we can process those products. And that's what USMCA offers.
I think it's important, whether it's in agriculture or whether it's in advanced manufacturing. The automotive industry is huge in my district. Kia Motors Manufacturing, Georgia, has a plant there, have a supply chain across both global lines, both in Canada and Mexico. It is important that those are held intact and that they are able to continue to produce cars, hire American workers, and our community can continue to thrive.
Thank you.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, I want to make one final comment. I am glad to hear that members on both sides of the aisle and our panelists all agree that enforcement of laws is important and enforcement of this agreement is important. And I hope that they will make that commitment to all laws here in the U.S. And with that, I yield back.